Welcome to Sacred Seasons, a place where ancient stories breathe again, and the voice of the earth still whispers through time. Here, we walk the wheel of the year, honor the old gods and goddesses, and remember the wisdom written in the wind, the fire, the soil, and the stars. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and step with me beyond the veil of the ordinary. The winter solstice has always been more than a date on the calendar. It is a threshold between worlds. For our ancestors, the solstice was a living moment, a turning point where the sun seemed to stop in the heavens before beginning its slow return. Imagine a time when there were no electric lights, no hum of cities, only the rhythm of fire and frost. The sun's light grew weaker each day, shadows stretched longer, and fear whispered that perhaps this time the dawn would never return. In that fragile silence of winter, humanity learned reverence. The solstice became a promise that even in the darkest hour, the light is never truly gone. The earliest people lived by the seasons, guided by the cycles of nature. They were hunters, gatherers, farmers, watchers of the sky who saw in the sun a living deity. Its power sustained crops, animals, and life itself. When the warmth faded and the cold set in, ancient communities gathered to honor the mystery of survival. They watched the sunrise inch closer to the southern horizon each morning until it paused, still and uncertain. This sun, standstill, from the Latin solstitium, was sacred. To them, it was the breath of the gods, the pause before rebirth. Long before Christianity or modern calendars, winter festivals emerged in every culture that endured the cold. Among the Norse of Northern Europe, the solstice marked Yule, a celebration of fire, story, and spirit. They saw the sun as a great wheel turning through the heavens, shaping the four seasons. The very word Yule is thought to come from howl, meaning wheel. When the wheel turned toward winter, they kindled great bonfires, feasted through the night, and lifted horns of sweet ale to toast the return of the light. The flame symbolized the eternal spark within creation, the divine that endures through shadow. Meanwhile, the Romans celebrated Saturnalia, a 7-day festival of joy, mischief, and reversal. From December 17th onward, order dissolved and chaos reigned. Masters served their slaves, men dressed as women, and laughter filled the street. Houses were adorned with evergreen branches, gifts were exchanged, and candles burned in windows to honor Saturn, the god of time and agriculture. Though its face was festive, Saturnalia was also a deep acknowledgement of mortality and renewal, an echo of the same cosmic dance that moved the Norse fires and the Celtic rites of the Druids. Across the misty lands of Britain, the Druids gathered beneath sacred oaks to harvest mistletoe with golden sickles. The white berries glistened like drops of moonlight, symbols of life's endurance in the heart of death. The oak, strong and steadfast, stood as the axis of the world, connecting earth and sky. The mistletoe, thriving even when branches were bare, became a sacred emblem of hope. These rituals weren't too superstition. They were expressions of unity with the land. The ancients believed that nature spoke in signs, and the solstice was one of its most profound messages: to trust the turning of the wheel, to honor both darkness and dawn. Yule carried more than ritual, it carried wisdom. The Celts believed that during these 12 nights when the sun seemed still, a log burned to drive away the lingering darkness. The Yule log's flames were thought to cleanse the home of negativity, banish spirits of despair, and invite blessings for the year to come. From its ashes, people saved a small ember to light the next year's fire, a symbol of continuity and protection. In this act, the human spirit mirrored the sun's journey, fading, resting, and rising again renewed. The winter solstice is not merely an ancient curiosity. It is a timeless reminder that the light we seek outside also dwells within. Every winter of the soul carries the seed of rebirth. The ancients may have stood beneath a different sky, but their prayers and their celebrations all sprang from the same truth that still guides us today. Life moves in cycles, and even in our darkest hour, the fire of renewal waits to rise again. Now that we have stepped into the first circle of Yule, the question lingers, did these sacred traditions evolve into the celebrations we know today? The next chapter will open the door to the transformation of Yule, as pagan fires met the birth of new faiths, and the solstice found its way into the heart of what we now call Christmas. When the ancient fires of Yule flickered across northern Europe, the world was still ruled by nature's rhythm. But as civilizations grew and empires expanded, faiths began to intertwine, shaping new meanings out of older rituals. The story of Yule is not a tale of disappearance, but of transformation. Its symbols were too deeply woven into human consciousness to ever truly fade. Instead, they adapted, survived, and reemerged in new forms, echoes of the old gods whispering beneath the songs of new faiths. As the Roman Empire stretched across continents, so too did its customs. Saturnalia, the festival of inversion and joy, spread through the lands of Europe. It was a time of excess and laughter, a necessary release from the hardships of winter. But it was also a powerful psychological ritual. By turning order upside down, people faced their fears of chaos and death through celebration, not despair. This ritual inversion reminded them that the world's balance depended on both light and darkness. When Christianity later took root within the empire, it encountered this deep seasonal rhythm too ancient and beloved to erase. Instead, the birth of Christ began to be celebrated around the same time as the solstice, merging divine light with the returning sun. In northern Europe, the Norse Yule persisted even under the shadow of conversion. Bonfires continued to blaze through the frozen nights. Families still gathered around feasts, and evergreen branches adorned homes. The new faith brought the story of a savior born into the cold of night, but the old faith had always known that light is born from darkness. The transition was not a clean break. It was a blending. Old prayers shifted into carols, offerings became gifts, and sacred trees found their way into living rooms as symbols of eternal life. What was once the wheel of the sun became the star over Bethlehem. Different language, same reverence for the Druids and Celts, whose temples were forests and whose scriptures were the stones themselves. Yule had always been about the mystery of rebirth. When Christianity arrived in the British Isles, it absorbed many of their sacred symbols. The mistletoe, once cut beneath the moon to bless the tribe, became a decoration of peace and love. The Yule log, once burned to banish shadow, became a symbol of warmth and faith within the hearth. Each tradition was reshaped, but not lost. Beneath the layers of religious adaptation, the heartbeat of nature's wisdom continued to pulse. This blending was not an accident. Humanity needed continuity more than conquest. To erase the solstice would have meant to erase our connection to the turning earth. And so, the early church found harmony where conflict might have risen. The date of Christmas was set near the solstice to celebrate the rebirth of light, both celestial and divine. In this alignment of sun and spirit, ancient pagan reverence found a new vessel. Yet within every flicker of candlelight, something older still speaks. The Yule fire was never only about survival. It was about recognition, the understanding that even as the outer world freezes, the inner flame must be tended. This was the wisdom that no empire could destroy. The old gods may have changed their names, but their essence remained. The sanctity of the earth, the cycles of life, and the truth that every ending conceals a beginning. Through centuries of transformation, Yule became the hidden thread connecting the old world to the new. It carried forward our ancestors' gratitude for the returning sun, their trust in the cycles of time, and their faith that the light within the human heart will always rise again. As we step deeper into the story, the next chapter will reveal how these ancient symbols, the evergreens, the mistletoe, the log, the light, came to embody more than tradition. They became living metaphors of hope. woven through centuries, carrying the essence of Yule into the modern age. Symbols are the language of the soul. They speak across time, beyond words, bridging the ancient with the present. Yule is a tapestry woven of such simple natural elements infused with meaning so deep that even today we honor them without always remembering why. But the human heart remembers. Somewhere in us still lives the quiet awe of our ancestors who looked upon the evergreen, the flame, the sun, and saw eternity reflected there. Among the most enduring of these symbols is the evergreen tree. In the heart of winter, when all else withers and dies, it remains vibrant and alive. For the ancients, this resilience was sacred. The evergreen became the embodiment of immortality, a reminder that life endures through every death. In Norse lands, it was adorned with symbols of the gods and spirits. Offerings hung from its branches to ensure fertility and protection. To the Celts, evergreens were guardians of life's continuity. Their green presence, a promise that the world would bloom again. Later, as Christianity spread, this symbol was gently reshaped. Evergreen became the Christmas tree, a beacon of enduring faith. Yet its roots still reach into pagan soil, whispering of the cycle that never ends. Then there was the mistletoe, the golden child of the sacred oak. Its appearance in winter was no accident to those who read nature's signs. The Druids saw it as the spirit of the tree itself, thriving when all other growth had fallen to sleep. They cut it with ceremony, never letting it touch the ground, and shared it as a blessing of life, love, and healing. In their belief, mistletoe carried the vital spark of the sun, captured and preserved through the cold months. Centuries later, the tradition of kissing beneath the mistletoe emerged not as mere romance, but as an echo of that ancient blessing, a gesture of peace and union between souls beneath the gaze of the gods. The Yule log carried its own fire-born magic. Each year, families would choose a log carefully, often from oak or ash, and bring it into their home as a sacred offering. It was lit with the remains of the previous year's log, ensuring the continuity of blessing and protection. As it burned, people offered prayers for prosperity and health, its flames believed to banish the lingering spirits of misfortune. When the fire finally dimmed, the ashes were kept to fertilize fields or guard the hearth from harm. In its ritual, we see the essence of Yule distilled, celebration of death and renewal, of warmth against the cold, of light reborn from its own ashes. Even the simplest act of lighting a candle carries this heritage. In the darkness of the longest night, every flame became a star brought down to earth. Fire was a prayer, a dialogue with the unseen, a symbol of divine presence. In every culture that celebrated the solstice, light was both literal and spiritual, a reflection of the soul's endurance. When modern homes glow with candles at Christmas time, the gesture unknowingly honors the same sacred impulse to hold light against the dark and trust that dawn will come. What is remarkable is not how these traditions survived, but how they transformed without losing meaning. The ancient mind understood that the divine speaks through the language of nature. Every leaf, flame, and shadow is a teaching. When those same symbols were adopted into new religions and cultures, they retained their essence because they speak to something primal and usta, desire to belong to the eternal rhythm of life. So much of what we call tradition is memory wrapped in ritual. Yule's symbols endure because they are mirrors. They remind us of our own resilience, our own need for light, and the eternal truth that rebirth is always possible. They call us to remember that celebration is not merely joy, it is faith made visible. In the next chapter, we will travel deeper into the heart of Yule's mystery. We will explore how the turning of the sun was seen not only as an outer event, but as an inner initiation. The awakening of spirit through the darkness of the soul. A journey that connects ancient rituals to the timeless path of transformation still unfolding within each of us. As the centuries unfolded, Yule transformed from a seasonal celebration of survival into a spiritual ritual of renewal. Yet, behind the shifting faces of religion and culture, the essence remained unchanged. At its core, The winter solstice was, and still is, a meditation on the eternal rhythm of light and darkness. Ancient people may not have spoken in psychological terms, but they understood instinctively that the outer cycle of the sun mirrored the inner journey of the soul. Every winter demanded introspection. Every solstice demanded faith. When the sun seemed to die each year, humanity was invited to confront its own darkness. The long night stripped life down to its essence: no abundance, no distraction, only silence, cold, and time. It was in that stark stillness that people found meaning. Firelight became more than warmth. It became consciousness. Around it, stories were told not merely for entertainment, but for survival of spirit. These stories carried moral codes, ancestral memories, and cosmic truths. To gather by the fire was to remember who you were, where you came from, and what must endure through the storm. The Druids and Celts saw this as a sacred initiation. The descent into darkness was necessary for rebirth. Just as the seed must rest beneath the soil before it can sprout, the human spirit must journey inward to find the light that sustains it. Yule's rituals, the lighting of candles, the burning of the log, the exchange of blessings, were acts of alignment with the universe's rhythm. They reminded each soul that it too participates in the dance of creation and decay. In honoring the solstice, people honored themselves as reflections of nature's wisdom. Even in the colder landscapes of the Norse and Germanic peoples, this understanding ran deep. The myths of the wild hunt, where Odin rode across the winter skies leading spirits of the dead, were not tales of fear, but of transformation. The hunt symbolized the passage of souls through the veil, the cleansing of the old year before the dawn of the new. Fires were lit to guide wandering spirits, to protect the living, and to remind all that death is part of the sacred cycle. The night was not to be conquered, but respected. Only through acceptance of shadow could one welcome the return of light. This universal symbolism transcended culture. In Rome, Saturnalia's chaos mirrored this same truth. By overturning social order, people acknowledged that life itself is built upon the dance between structure and surrender. Saturn, god of time and cycles, ruled over both the harvest and its decay. To celebrate him was to recognize the inevitability of change and to trust that rebirth follows every ending. Though the language of ritual differed, the message was constant: surrender to the turning of the wheel. Modern minds often look back on these ancient practices as primitive or mythic, yet their psychological depth is timeless. The solstice was humanity's first philosophy of renewal. It taught resilience without words. It showed that even when everything seems lifeless, something invisible is preparing to bloom. Today, in a world overflowing with artificial light, the lesson of Yule still matters. Darkness is not failure. It is gestation. It is the space where understanding, creativity, and healing begin to grow. To stand at the winter solstice is to stand at the crossroads of endings and beginnings. The ancients celebrated with feasts and fire. We may celebrate with quiet reflection, gratitude, or prayer. But the essence remains: to honor both what has died and what is about to be born. Yule reminds us that no light exists without shadow, no joy without loss, and no awakening without descent. And as humanity carried this wisdom forward, the story of Yule continued to evolve. The next chapter will uncover how the fires of the solstice crossed into medieval and early Christian Europe, blending sacred myth with tradition, how the rebirth of the sun became the birth of the sun, and how the ancient language of nature quietly shaped the faith of a new age. When the old world met the new faith, something remarkable happened, not an erasure, but an alchemy. The pagan celebration of Yule and the Christian festival of Christmas became intertwined through time, forming a spiritual mosaic that still shapes our modern winter rituals. The transition was not born from conquest alone, but from necessity, compassion, and the wisdom of adaptation. People needed their traditions as much as they needed their gods. So, Rather than destroy what was sacred to the people, many early Christian leaders chose to weave the new story into the old rhythm of the earth. The winter solstice had always been the time when the light returned, and the birth of Christ, the light of the world, naturally found its place within that ancient cycle. It was a seamless merging of symbols: the divine child born from the darkness, the promise of hope renewed, the sun rising after the longest night. The celebration of Christ's birth was set near December 12, not because of historical certainty, but because it carried the power of cosmic alignment. Humanity already knew how to honor rebirth, and Christianity gave that instinct a new form. In the northern lands, where Yule fires burned for generations, people continued to gather around hearths and trees. The evergreens that once symbolized life's endurance were now crowned with stars and angels. The Yule log, once a charm against misfortune, became the heart of the Christmas hearth, its ashes still kept for blessing and protection. Feasts remained, candles still glowed, and songs still rose into the night air. But their meanings blended. The divine light of Christ joined the solar light of Yule, and together they became a universal language of renewal. This blending carried a profound psychological truth. Humanity needs continuity to evolve. To sever completely from the old would have left a void too vast for faith to fill. The Church understood that people's reverence for nature, cycles, and the mystery of light's return could not simply vanish, so it was transmuted. The Druids' mistletoe became a token of love and peace. The Roman tradition of gift-giving endured as a symbol of generosity. The Norse fires and feasting found echoes in Christmas Eve warmth and celebration. Every act carried the ghost of Yule within it. But beneath the surface of theology and ritual, something deeper remained, unchanged: a human longing for connection to the eternal. The same reverence that once bowed to the sun now turned its gaze to the heavens. The same hope that burned in Yule fires glowed in the candles of Christmas. This union of old and new created not contradiction, but harmony. It reflected a truth both spiritual and psychological. All faiths are rivers flowing from the same source. The need to understand light, the need to feel reborn after darkness. In medieval Europe, this synthesis shaped a season of both sacred devotion and communal joy. Villages celebrated the Nativity, yet still honored customs older than their churches. People decorated with holly and ivy, sang carols rooted in pagan chants, and carried torches through the snow. Each tradition held layers of memor Christian, pagan, human. The festival became not just a holy day, but a bridge, uniting generations, beliefs, and hearts across centuries. To look at this fusion is to see how spirituality evolves like nature itself. Beliefs adapt, symbols shift, but meaning survives. The solstice became Christmas, Yule became a whisper beneath the hymns. And through it all, humanity continued to celebrate the same truth: that the light returns, that life renews, that hope endures. And so, even today, when we light candles, share gifts, or gather around the warmth of the hearth, we are repeating a prayer older than any book, the invocation of rebirth. Each flame carries both the memory of Yule and the blessing of Christmas. Each moment of joy, a continuation of that ancient song sung to the turning sun. In the next chapter, we will explore how these rituals endured through time, evolving across continents and cultures, how Yule's message of rebirth became a universal language of the human spirit, echoing through the modern age, still guiding us toward light through centuries of change, conquest, and renewal. The essence of Yule persisted like an ember buried in ash, small but alive, waiting to be rekindled. As Europe moved through the Middle Ages and into modern times, the old ways never fully disappeared. They transformed, slipped beneath the surface of daily life, whispered through rituals we perform without question. Yule became memory made habit, and though its pagan roots were forgotten by many, its spirit endured in the collective heart of humankind. In every corner of Europe, echoes of Yule lived on. The burning of candles on dark nights, the hanging of greenery, the sharing of food and fire all carried traces of the solstice's ancient call to honor the cycles of death and rebirth. When families gathered by the hearth, telling stories to chase away the cold, they were enacting the same magic their ancestors once knew. The warmth of firelight, the laughter of community, and the hope that spring would return were threads that bound the centuries together. Even as empires rose and fell, the symbols of Yule refused to vanish. The evergreen remained a sign of life's endurance, a living presence of the sacred amid winter's stillness. The Yule log, transformed but remembered, continued as a gesture of blessing, its flame a connection to the divine fire of the sun. The feast that once honored the returning light became the Christmas table, where gratitude replaced sacrifice and joy took the place of fear. Humanity had evolved, but the ritual remained an expression of the same truth that light, love, and renewal are worth celebrating every year. As societies modernized, the practical reason for these rituals faded, yet the emotional need deepened. The industrial age distanced humanity from the land, but not from the longing for its rhythm. Cities may have replaced forests, yet the solstice still whispered through the calendar. The flicker of a candle in a window, the scent of pine, the hush of snowfall, these became modern relics of an older worship. Even in the secular world, Yule's magic quietly endures in the way we decorate, gather, and hope. In the heart of the modern mind, there remains an unspoken recognition of the solstice's message. We may no longer gather in sacred groves or light fires to the sun, but we still mark the moment when the year turns. We still feel that pull toward reflection as the days shorten, that instinct to rest, release, and begin again. The same psychological truth that moved our ancestors moves us still. That darkness invites transformation, and every winter carries the seed of spring. It is here that the old wisdom finds new relevance. The pagan philosophy behind Yule was never about worshiping gods outside oneself. It was about understanding life as a circle, the self as part of nature's rhythm. The ancients saw divinity in the sun, the moon, the seed, the storm, and they recognized those forces within their own hearts. The solstice, in this light, becomes a mirror for the inner journey. It invites us to shed what has grown cold and lifeless, to ignite what is true and vital, and to trust the rhythm of renewal that governs both the sky and the soul. In the modern spiritual revival, many have returned to these roots. Paganism, Wicca, and nature-based practices have reclaimed the language of Yule, not as a nostalgic reconstruction, but as a living philosophy for today. To celebrate Yule now is to step into harmony with the earth, once more to honor the balance between light and dark, to cultivate gratitude for both rest and rebirth, to remember that we, too, are part of the eternal wheel of life. Yule's endurance is proof that truth does not vanish with time, it evolves. Every culture that has touched it has added its own meaning, yet its foundation remains unshaken. It is the universal celebration of the return of light, of the victory of life over death, and the promise that what fades will rise again. And as we move forward, the next chapter will reveal how this ancient wisdom speaks to our age of disconnection. Yule's call to honor the natural world can guide humanity toward balance once more, teaching us that the return of the light is not only celestial, but spiritual and ecological. The lesson of Yule reaches beyond ritual. It speaks to the evolution of consciousness itself. Every year, as the earth tilts and the sun pauses in its lowest arc, nature offers a quiet revelation. Life is not a straight line, but a spiral. What seems like an ending is only the beginning seen from another point of the circle. This is the hidden teaching our ancestors preserved in the firelight of the solstice, and it remains just as vital for us now. In a world that worships progress and constant growth, Yule whispers the forgotten wisdom of cycles. It reminds us that retreat, reflection, and stillness are not failures but essential parts of creation. When we look back on the origins of Yule, the bonfires of the Norse, the Saturnalian revelry of the Romans, the Druidic ceremonies beneath sacred oaks, we see more than history. We see humanity's early understanding of spiritual ecology. They did not separate themselves from the sun or the soil. The cosmos was their cathedral. The changing seasons were sacred texts. Each solstice marked a turning of both the heavens and the human heart. This awareness was not superstition. It was a profound form of wisdom born from observation and reverence. In today's world, Yule's message has evolved into a philosophy of inner sustainability. The solstice teaches us that we cannot live in perpetual summer. Growth without rest leads to depletion. Creation without reflection leads to emptiness. The darkness of winter is not an interruption of life, it is the necessary space where restoration occurs. Just as the earth sleeps beneath the snow to renew itself, the human spirit must also enter its own winter to awaken with clarity. To embrace Yule is to embrace this rhythm. It is to stop chasing constant light and instead trust the alternation of shadow and flame. This is not an abstract metaphor, it is a practice of balance. In the quiet days around the solstice, we can pause to ask, what must end for something new to begin? What within us needs to rest, release, or die so that the inner sun can rise again? These are the questions that turn ritual into transformation. This way of seeing life aligns deeply with modern psychology and spiritual practice. Shadow work, mindfulness, the cycles of emotional healing, all mirror the wisdom of the solstice. The descent into darkness becomes a journey inward, where we face what has been hidden and recover the light of self. Yule becomes a mirror through which we understand that rebirth does not come from avoidance, but from courage, the willingness to enter the night with faith that dawn will come. Through this lens, the fires of Yule become more than seasonal celebration. They are symbols of spiritual resilience. Each spark represents the human capacity to kindle hope even in despair, to find warmth even in desolation. This is why our ancestors gathered around the flame, not because they feared the night, but because they trusted their own power to transform it. To tend that fire is to participate in creation itself. It is to acknowledge that the divine does not only live in the sky, but also in the small, persistent light within each of us. In our time of collective uncertainty, the wisdom of Yule becomes a medicine. The world has entered its own kind of winter, ecological, emotional, spiritual. We stand again at the edge of darkness, searching for the path to renewal. The solstice reminds us that light cannot be forced. It must be allowed to return. It teaches us to slow down, to reconnect with the living world, and to remember that we are never separate from the cycle that sustains us. Yule's eternal message is not just about the sun returning to the sky. It is about the light returning to consciousness, the rediscovery of meaning, compassion, and connection. It invites us to live in harmony with the rhythm of life, to honor both stillness and movement, both decay and rebirth. When we celebrate Yule with this awareness, we are enacting an ancient past. We are keeping a promise that began with the first fire ever lit against the cold, that no matter how deep the night, the flame of life endures. In the next chapter, we will reflect on how this enduring flame continues to shape our collective spirit, uniting the old world with the new, and how the celebration of Yule reborn through time reminds us that humanity's greatest ritual is not of religion, but of remembrance. The story of Yule is, at its heart, the story of remembrance. Through centuries of change, conquest, and cultural blending, the celebration of the winter solstice has endured because it answers something fundamental in the human spirit. Every generation, no matter how distant from the land or the stars, feels the pull to mark the turning of the year, to pause, to reflect, to rekindle hope. This impulse is older than religion, older than civilization itself. It is the instinct to honor the eternal rhythm that binds us to all life. As we trace Yule's journey from the fires of the ancient North to the candles of modern homes, what we truly uncover is not just a history of ritual, but a map of the human heart. The Norsemen saw the sun as a wheel, turning endlessly through seasons of birth, growth, decay, and rest. The Druids saw the mistletoe as a spark of life persisting through winter's death. The Romans, through Saturnalia, celebrated the release of spirit from constraint. Each expression was different, yet all shared the same recognition that life renews itself only through surrender to the cycle. In this way, Yule became a universal meditation on balance, reminding humanity that creation is sustained by rhythm, not permanent. Over time, these ancient practices merged into new forms, New Year, and countless winter festivals around the world. Yet beneath every feast, every gift, every flicker of light, the essence of Yule continues to breathe. When we decorate a tree, we are honoring the evergreen's defiance of death. When we exchange gifts, we echo the offerings once made to the gods of the sun. When we gather to eat and drink together, we repeat the ancient vow that community is our refuge in darkness. These acts are not accidents. They are memory-made ritual. They are the proof that even when we forget, the soul remembers. Modern psychology might call this archetypal, the collective inheritance of human meaning. But long before such terms existed, our ancestors understood it intuitively. They lived in a world where the outer and inner mirrored each other. The solstice was both a celestial event and a spiritual teaching. The sun's rebirth was the soul's renewal. They understood that to light a fire in the dark was not defiance, but participation in creation. Each ritual act was a way of affirming that the divine lives not in distant heavens, but in the pulse of existence itself. Today, Yule's survival speaks to the quiet resilience of this wisdom. It reminds us that even when symbols are stripped of context, their truth persists. Humanity's need to find light in darkness never disappears, it merely takes new forms. In every culture, every century, people have returned to the same pattern: to stop, to gather, to give thanks, to celebrate life's endurance, whether through prayer, song, laughter, or silence. The intention is the same: to recognize that we are part of something larger than ourselves, something eternal. Yule teaches that spirituality is not a doctrine, but a relationship, a dialogue between the human and the cosmic, the inner and the outer. It shows that reverence is born not from obedience, but from awareness. To honor the solstice is to step into that awareness, to remember that we are not observers of nature, but participants in its rhythm. This understanding dissolves the illusion of separation and restores what modern life has forgotten: that the sacred is not confined to temples or texts. It lives in the seasons, in the soil, in every breath and heartbeat. In this way, the celebration of Yule becomes a form of collective healing. It reconnects us to the earth, to each other, and to the cyclical truth of existence. It teaches us to honor loss as part of life's continuity, to celebrate joy as a sacred responsibility, and to find meaning in both shadow and flame. Through this remembrance, we reclaim a way of being that is whole. As we approach the final chapter, we arrive at the heart of Yule's message, the understanding that the return of the light is not just a cosmic event, but a human awakening. The ancients celebrated the sun's rebirth. We, too, can celebrate the renewal of spirit. The next chapter will close the circle, reflecting on how the fire that once burned on the solstice night continues to live within us, guiding humanity through every winter toward the eternal dawn. The story of Yule ends where it began, in the stillness before dawn. The longest night gives way to the faint shimmer of returning light, and with it comes a quiet understanding. Everything that has ever lived must one day rest, and everything that rests will one day rise again. This is the eternal rhythm our ancestors honored when they gathered around fires in the frozen dark. Theirs was not a blind hope, but a sacred knowing born of countless winters. They understood that darkness is never the end. It is the place where creation begins anew. As the wheel of the year turns once more, we can feel that same truth echoing within our own lives. Each of us carries seasons in our hearts, times of abundance and warmth, and times when everything seems still, stripped to its core. Yule reminds us that both are holy. The fire we light is not to chase away the dark, but to welcome it, to see it as the fertile ground of transformation. It teaches that within every descent, there is the seed of ascent. Within every loss, the whisper of renewal. The solstice is both the death of the old and the promise of the new, a mirror reflecting the eternal cycle of spirit. Even now, in the modern age of speed and artificial light, this rhythm continues to speak to us. When we pause to breathe, to reflect, to honor what is past and what will come, we are living the essence of Yule. The celebration does not depend on temples or ancient chants. It lives in the small rituals, the lighting of a candle, the quiet gratitude for warmth, the act of sharing food and love. These are the same sacred gestures that once bound tribes together in survival, that once honored gods and stars. Through them, we touch the same mystery that those ancient fires once invoked. The wisdom of Yule is simple yet profound. All things move in cycles. Light follows darkness, life follows death, and after every ending, there is renewal. The ancients saw this truth written across the sky, but it is written within us too. Every time we face hardship, grief, or change, we walk the same path the sun once walked, descending into shadow, waiting in stillness, and rising again with new strength. To live with this awareness is to live in harmony with the cosmos itself. What makes Yule timeless is not the outer ritual, but the inner revelation it carries. It invites us to return to balance, to humility, to gratitude for the earth that sustains us. It teaches reverence for the natural world as both teacher and mirror. To honor the solstice is to remember that we are not separate from the universe, our expressions of it. The same fire that blazes in the stars burns quietly in our hearts. The same cycle that turns the seasons turns the story of our lives. So, when the next solstice night comes and the cold presses close, remember this: you are a part of a lineage that stretches back to the first humans who dared to light a flame against the darkness. Every spark, every heartbeat, every breath is an act of faith in the return of light. Yule is not only a celebration of the sun, it is a celebration of the human spirit, the unyielding belief that even in the deepest winter, something within us continues to burn. As dawn breaks, the old year releases its final breath, and the newborn light rises once more over frost and field. The world exhales. The cycle begins again. And in that quiet, sacred moment, we remember what our ancestors always knew, that life is eternal, that love endures, and that the light once found is never truly lost. The wheel turns, the fire burns. The year is reborn. This is Yule, the promise that the light will always return. When the wheel turns again, return to the circle. Subscribe to keep walking the path of nature, spirit, and ancient wisdom. Blessed be